This is Ben and Skin on 97.1 The Freak.
You are listening to the world-famous Ben and Skin Show, weekdays 10 to 2, right here on 97.1 The Freak, the home of the Downbeat with Soroy, Danny, KT, and JJ. And then, of course, that goes right into our show at 10 o'clock. Then 2 o'clock, the Speakeasy with Mike Reiner, Kavanaugh, Julie, and Groobs. This is 97.1 The Freak, the most unique radio station in America. And we're super stoked to have Mark Cuban joining us in studio. This is awesome. I'm not sure of how many other interviews you've done since the sale went through, but you've talked to a few people here and there. But thank you for doing this with us. We appreciate it.
Of course.
So I want to dive right in here to something because it is topical. In my mind, I'm sitting here looking at this going, man, I think Cuban may have more money than Jerry Jones now. This is incredible. And I just started thinking about it. And how often do you interact with Jerry Jones?
I mean, every now and then we'll see each other or talk. I like Jerry. I'm friends. I feel horrible for him. Right, I know the heartbreak of expectations, and I know when I've been sitting there thinking, okay, we've got a really good chance to win, and in the playoffs or whatever it is, in the finals, and you don't win, it's devastating, and because you feel so helpless. There's nothing he can do, right? What happens on the field happens on the field, and fans, it's easy to say, well, you could have, would have, should have done this, and this, but the reality is, it's just what happens, and it's just that feeling you get is just devastating. And so I feel for Jerry.
Is that the kind of thing that you reach out and offer your condolences, or would you want condolences in that situation?
Not this soon. Not this soon. Yeah, it's just like you can't even imagine what it feels like.
Isn't that obviously that's the heartbreak of sports, but then you look at right up the road with the Rangers, they go and win it all in a year. They weren't supposed to win it all. It's crazy.
Of course, towards the end of the Rangers season, they were losing left and right, and people were just like, will they make the playoffs?
Right.
And then you get hot, and boom, just like Green Bay got on a roll, and when you're on the other side of the field, it's just brutal.
Let's talk about people watching the Dallas Mavericks on television, because you have to deal with a lot of that on X, and y'all had a huge deal with Bally Sports, Fox Sports Southwest, and it became, got sold, et cetera, and then their TV deals with big providers started going away, and it became more and more difficult for the Mavericks to be seen on television. Now
that's all going to change.
Okay,
So here's a couple things, right? We will have 10 games towards the end of the season that will be on over-the-air television.
And for people that don't know what over-the-air means, it's just like your local channel.
Yeah, your local TV channel.
Yes.
Right. So you'll be able to watch it on whoever we end up partnering with. There'll be 10 games. It won't be 10 in a row. It won't be the last 10, but there'll be 10 games that you'll be able to watch over the air. In terms of what we do for streaming next year, it won't be Bally's unless something crazy happens, like Amazon buys them or something like that, at which point it'd be on Prime, But it will change. What we do probably won't be the same as what other teams have done. We'll probably focus on getting the greatest reach as opposed to trying to maximize revenue.
There is, if you look at teams in a similar situation, like the Phoenix Suns, a lot of people have talked about them, for example. Did the Adelsons and the Dumonts coming in change this?
Not really. I mean, we basically have had the same plan. Like if Bally's goes away, we're going to do something different. Just because I just felt it wasn't about the revenue. It had to be, okay, it's been difficult for Mavs fans. We want as many Mavs fans as possible to be able to watch.
Do you think it's going to be one of those things where you guys start your own media company?
No. Look, I started streaming 25 years ago. It could be as easy as let's just put it on the Mavs.com, right? Or, set something up so it's on Roku and Apple TV and, you name it, Philo, whatever. So we'll just try to be in as many places as we can to make it as easy to watch as possible.
What is your overall perception of how sports is interacting with all these different platforms right now? Like the changes you've seen in, let's say, even the last 5 years, where is this heading for your average person that just wants to see the damn game?
It just depends on which market you're in, right? Look at the NFL this weekend. You had to go to Peacock. And
to get a Chiefs game.
Yeah, to get a Chiefs game, right? Or you can watch it on local television if you were in KC. It'll be interesting to see how many people watched it on Peacock not including the over-the-air television. But so it really depends on the market and the circumstances. It's wide open right now. It's wide open. It's not inconceivable that the NHL and the NBA and maybe Major League Baseball goes the way of the NFL, where they just aggregate all the rights, and sell them to one. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But it'll change. It'll change, and we're going to try to just maximize reach.
Mm-hmm. There was a while where I really thought you were going to run for president, and if you did, and if you won, I was like, Skin, we're going to get to go hang out at the White House.
Right.
We might do a live remote from the White House. But you ended up not running, and people still ask us about that all the time. So I'm assuming people ask you. Let's go back in time. How close were you?
I wasn't.
Would you ever do it?
No.
Why not?
Just because family, just the nature of politics these days is that it's brutal on your family. Somebody said to me, I would never vote for somebody who wanted to run for president, because that tells me there's something really wrong with them. And, and I believe that. And either lifetime politicians or crazy people or whatever, that's just not me.
Were there ever conversations about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
how
people did polls because I was just curious, right? I mean, it's not. I'm not going to tell you I wasn't curious about it, but it was never close. Yeah.
And so, were both parties saying? Because really, was it one party?
It wasn't one party. It was more like to do it as an independent.
Okay.
And some other third parties that have tried to pop up. But yeah, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. And, you go through in your mind, I would do this, 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 and this, and this. But yeah, it's just was never close.
Hey, that's the whole thing too about quote unquote being an independent, because once you get in, you still got to go make deals with these parties and all the people that are in the parties.
Yeah, but that's okay, right? Because if you're independent, you can pick and choose the best of, as opposed to, well, this person gave me the most money, or this person's part of the party, so I've got to reward the person in the party. Stuff that makes government worse, not better. And so being independent, you can say, okay, well, I don't need to put Republicans on another Republican or right-leaning justice on the Supreme Court. I can try to balance it out. Mm-hmm. Too many to the right, we'll put someone from the left, put someone who's independent. Let's create some balance. Instead of having, all political appointees, no, let's go get the best people, and not try to reward people for being in a party. Look, the best thing that I could ever possibly do outside of, when it comes to politics is, get rid of the two parties, right? Because they serve no purpose.
We always talk about this. Everything you're saying, I think your average person is like, yes, 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 but we're beholden by a system. Can an independent ever get in there and do this?
Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, of course. Because 27% or 26% are Republican and 27% are Democrat, and the rest are independent, give or take. There's no love lost for either party. Nobody looks at, okay, look at the most likely nominee for the Republican Party. Oh, that person's great. Look at the nominee for the Democrat. Oh, that person's great. Said nobody ever.
Right.
Right?
Right.
These are the two best candidates we can come up with. Said nobody ever. Right? And so, I'm a big proponent of ranked choice voting. I think that helps change things. There's all kinds of different things you can do. But, yeah, it's definitely a mess right now.
You're one of my only friends that almost ran for president. You're also one of my only friends who might have a beef with Elon Musk, and I don't know if you do or not.
I have a beef with him. No,
I feel like every once in a while he takes a swipe.
That's just what he does on X, right? It's just that's just what X has become it's his company. He gets to do whatever he wants, and the way he set the whole thing up, it reflects what he thinks and how he thinks, and everybody just piles on in that little echo chamber, and it's not real world. You can't look at Twitter and say, oh wow, that reflects real world, right? It doesn't. And as people leave and go to other platforms or don't use social, look, for me, I use social media a whole lot less. My kids use it a whole lot less. You'll scroll through TikTok and you'll scroll through Instagram. Max, are you on Twitter at all? Just do you post at all? That's the way most people are. They'll lurk, but don't post. Social media is not social anymore. There's nothing social about it.
No, and it drives me crazy, but because of the world we live in, we need it in some ways. Now, I'm talking about the media world that Ben and I work in, for example.
You think, what's changed over the last year, right, is you can go to Threads and put it out there, and it'll get communicated back to Twitter. And I'm not saying don't post on Twitter, but the reality is there's not the number of people. The engagement you get is 3/4 hate and nonsense, right? And maybe 25%, if you're lucky, something of quality.
Yeah. And this is what I was curious about specifically with you and the way that it unfolds on social media. Like, for example, Ben brought it up. We'll see you and Elon tweeting back and forth, like, do they have beef? What's going on here? But there is an element to it. I know that you're a wrestling fan. And so I watched this stuff from afar and go, how much of this is the same?
Just messing with him?
Just the same theatrics you would see in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him at all, right? So it's not like, hey, we're friends and da-da-da-da-da. Let's put on this show. But, when you go into I know when I go on there, all his little acolytes, all his little sympathies are going to come after me, right, no matter what I say. If I say something even a little bit negative about anything that he says or does, which is fun sometimes, right? So there are times I'll mess with them just, or go on the platform and say stuff I know is going to piss off the whole platform because it's fun, right? And why not, right? And I'm sure he feels the same way. I'm sure he doesn't think twice about me, right? But at the same time, there's times when he'll come back at me and say, stuff that is obviously ridiculous. And, maybe he's just having fun. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy the way these algorithms work. And I know they fluctuate and change all the time. And,
not all that much.
Really?
Yeah, not all that much.
Okay, because sometimes you have some post and there's massive reaction to it. And sometimes it's straight crickets.
Right. So the way the algorithm basically works is that whoever has the most engagement and followers creates more engagement for their followers. So, Elon's got 169, 170 million followers, whatever it is. And so what he says and the people who interact with him drive more engagement than anything anybody else can do. Mm-hmm. And so if he says something, reflects it, your engagement's going to go through the roof. If I just say something, it's just going to be marginal. And then, because he wants to reward engagement, but when you're the largest account on the system, you are going to have the most influence.
What is your perception of when he bought it for the amount that he bought it for?
Oh, I don't care. It's his money. He can do whatever he damn well please. Yeah, I don't care.
I just know from my perspective, I'm like, okay, you've got to be up to something there to spend that much money on a platform that doesn't have the
obviously he could
value.
afford it, right? But he had to borrow some too. I don't know. It's his platform. He gets to do just like your show. Mm-hmm. You get to do whatever you want. And if it's like, I can't believe Ben and Skin talked about this, this, and this, or why do you spend so much time talking about that and not this? You guys get that stuff, right?
Right, sure.
It's your show. You're the gatekeepers. You get to decide who the guests are. You get to decide what's talked about. If there's something you don't like being talked about, you'll cut it off, right? Elon has the same thing with X. It's his show. He gets to do whatever he wants.
Okay, speaking of shows, you're also leaving Shark Tank. And I started hearing about this about the same time. Mark's leaving Shark Tank, and he's selling the Mavs. He's either running for president or he's dying.
Right.
Like, he was like, wait, what is going on? And I'm like, wait, what's happening? But walk us through the whole Shark Tank thing.
Look, I said I was leaving Shark Tank. First of all, I'm still all next year, right? So I'm still recording into 2025. So, and it's showing into 2025. And the reruns will go for the next 700 years. But I said I was going to leave before, and I told them. And then it just happened to leak at the same time the stuff on the Mavs came out. It wasn't like, planned and let's just announce. It just happened to come out at the same time. And it's just like, oh, my goodness. I know everybody's going to think da-da-da-da-da, but it was not anything like that. I still love the show. I still think it's a great show. I think it's, it has done more for entrepreneurship than probably anything in the country. There's thousands and thousands of schools that show the show, right, to teach young entrepreneurs and teach people about business. All stuff I'm proud about. I mean, inspired, I don't even know how many businesses, successful businesses, creating how many jobs and how much wealth. That's exciting. I'm not leaving that, right? The reality is, though, my kids are 14, 17, and 20, and when they were all in high school, their schedules kind of were set, and we can control them. Now they're becoming real people doing their own thing, and they don't care what my schedule is. I have to care what their schedule is, and I just want to be able to spend time with them.
Isn't it insane the second they get a car? I mean, it's fun. My son is 16, and it's like, I'll turn to my... Did our son just leave the house without telling us anything and disappear off into the world?
Exactly.
Did he not think that he needed to check in with us for this? The hell?
I mean, it's hey, we're all going to go on vacation for Christmas. No, we're not. No, my fantasy football, I've got my, it's coming down to crunch time. Or, I've got my daughter is just like a top-notch rower that's getting recruited. And so she's, she works her butt off to be great at what she does in school and on the water. And so she's got her schedule, and my oldest is in college. She's like, oh no, I'm going with my friends, just like we were in college, And so I just don't have any control of them whatsoever. And so just being able to at least optimize or create more time with them, even if they're ignoring me or even if they don't listen to me, at least I have a chance.
Okay, so before we leave the Shark Tank, is there one business that stands out that you're most proud of, or the best success story, or a couple?
No, there's a bunch of them, right? I could go on for days, and it's not necessarily the big ones. It's, someone who just started from nothing and turned into something. And so there's tons of those stories. And, and I have Beatbox Beverages just raised money at $200 million. And they're just killing it. So there's just a ton of them. Just go to markcuban.com and you can see them all. And you can pick the one you like the most.
How has Shark Tank changed your life?
Oh, I mean, it used to be, aren't you guy that owns the Mavs to, Shark Tank, Shark Tank, Shark Tank, Shark Tank, Shark Tank, Shark Tank, Shark Tank. I mean, that's what I'm known for more than anything. So.
Talking to Mark Cuban here on the Ben and Skin Show, 97.1 The Freak. As you leave Shark Tank, how many businesses are you involved in?
Hundreds.
Okay. Would you have been involved in hundreds of businesses if it wasn't for Shark Tank?
No.
So are you going to try to scale back on?
No, I'm not scaling anything back. I'll do it the same way, right? It's just, and those businesses don't go away. There's still hundreds of them that need my help, right? And so, it'll still be a lot of the same stuff, but it's just having to shoot the show those couple weeks in June and couple weeks in September. That's the whole summer or the beginning of going back to school that I want to spend as much time with family as I can.
Right. All right, let's bring it back to the sale of the Mavericks, and because there's one thing we haven't talked about, and that's the big $35 million bonus.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
It's just something I've always done anytime I've sold one of my companies. Right, from Micro Solutions, we paid out of the $6 million, $1 million in bonuses. To Broadcast.com, out of 330 employees, 300 became millionaires, and some of them made like unbelievable amounts of money. To HDNet, when I sold that, I paid out a bunch of bonuses, and so that's just what I do. And the Dumonts were definitely on board, and and Miriam was, and so. It was a way to reward people that, whether you've been there 4 months or 35 years.
That was the thing, too, that like when it became the story, it was Mark Cuban is paying this out. And then I think you're very quick to let everybody know, well, the Dumonts and the Adelsons are part of this as well.
Yeah.
Did you go to them and say, this is what we need to do?
Well, I said, this is what I'm doing. And they said, we're in.
That's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There wasn't an employee that had been there for 37 years that left 5 minutes before the deal was announced, was there?
There were a couple, but I still bonused them.
Hey, let's go.
What a guy. What a guy.
That's awesome.
What has the reaction been from the employees?
Oh, it's been insane. I mean, people crying and this and that. I mean, literally, there's people who make, $60,000 a year that have been there a long time that got hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, people who make $80,000, they got hundreds of thousands of dollars. And people who are part-time, making, $20 an hour that might, just started, a year or two ago, they got $3,000 or $5,000. So there were a lot of happy people.
And then how does that how have you felt over the last 2 weeks or however long this has been? Like, what is the emotional state of Mark Cuban walking around the last couple of weeks?
I mean, it's just nothing's changed. I mean, but it's good to know I've changed people's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, you've talked to people, right? I mean, you've heard the stories, and people I'm sure have come up and said something to you, and and I don't know if you got your check yet.
I have not.
You will, yeah, it's coming. So it went full time, then part time, then contractors, and so the contractors
and
come
friends
last.
of contractors. This is great. This is great. I'll get mine.
Well, this has become a really good interview for me. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, how much did you get? I think it was 75.
$75.
Grand.
Whoa, really? Let's go.
Is it?
Hey.
Well, I'm kind of speechless at the moment. Is it bad to let it ride on one hand of blackjack?
I would give it to Max.
Max, would you like to manage me? I think I just had a good day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
This is live on the radio. Mark Cuban with us.
All right, I'm going to go to a steakhouse. I'll see you guys later.
Can you stick around, or what's your
Yeah, I
schedule?
can stick around a little bit.
Because we haven't even talked Mavs
I know.
yet.
That's what I want to do.